West should have backed Ukraine back in 2014, President Zelenskyy tells Davos elite.
Here's a summary of the article.
The international community should have supported Ukraine more back in 2014 when Russia first illegally annexed Crimea, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy told the World Economic Forum on Monday. Making a video address to the political and business elite gathered in Davos, Switzerland, Zelenskyy said that more support, and more preventative measures against Russia, should have been taken years ago to prevent Moscow from inflicting further aggression on Ukraine. Russia started its war against Ukraine back in 2014. We are grateful for this support, but if that happened, back then, immediately, that unity, that pressure on governments and on companies, would Russia have started this full-scale war? Would it have brought all these losses upon Ukraine and upon the world? I'm sure the answer is also no. Russia shocked the world when it invaded Ukraine back on February 24, but its aggressive stance and intentions against its neighbor came to the fore in 2014 when it illegally annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. Ukraine's allies in the West have poured billions of dollars and arms into Ukraine's war effort while treading a fine line of avoiding a direct confrontation with Moscow, which has been heavily sanctioned internationally. Russia has failed to make the headway it expected in Ukraine, and pulled back from an attempt to take the capital Kyiv in April, instead focusing its forces on seizing the Donbas region in eastern Ukraine. On Sunday, Zelenskyy said there will be no ceasefire in Ukraine that involves ceding any territory to Russia.
This post received a score of 16,000, with an upvote ratio of 91%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Davos will break a path through the occupied Black Sea beaches. Oh wait, I'm thinking of some other Davos.
The Onion Knight isn't gonna be of much help here, I'm afraid. Edit, changed Union into Onion, and corrected Gunner.
Onion Knight. The Union Knight is always going on about mandatory breaks.
General belief was that most of the aid money would have been stolen in 2014.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to those videos of bench-clearing brawls in the Ukrainian parliament and think it's probably understandable that countries went with the, yeah no, they probably aren't on the level right now, decision.
Adding to that, NATO did enter at that point and has been supporting Ukraine. This is why they even have a chance to defend themselves 8 years later.
Yeah, Ukraine barely backed Ukraine in 2014. NATO ramped up the training.
I wonder, if Putin had gone all in 2014, I think he could have taken the whole country. They barely held Kyiv in 2022. I can't imagine it would have held in 2014. Their military was far less prepared, and if they took the whole country, the West likely would have done bigger sanctions than it did. But I don't see them doing sanctions as big as they are now if they had full-on annexed or installed a puppet regime backed by Russian troops. It's a fascinating thought experiment on what would have happened if the invasion Russia conducted now happened in 2014.
Greater than I wonder, if Putin had gone all in 2014, I think he could have taken the whole country. That would have been the 8 hours to take Kiev, a week to take the whole country scenario they planned for now. UA's army was in no better shape than Russia's is today.
Greater than UA's army was in no better shape than Russia's is today. Not to mention a government still pulling itself together after a revolution. And Zelenskyy still just a comedian, having never even played president on TV yet.
The US and pretty much every NATO ally did back Ukraine. I encourage everyone and anyone to Google NATO support for Ukraine 2014 and read the literal NATO press release on the financial and military support they provided for Ukraine. Here's a link to a NATO fact sheet.
Wasn't Ukraine pretty much regarded as a major kleptocracy in 2014? I can see Western powers not wanting to dump dollar into it only to have it carried off by those in or connected to power.
Very much still is.
I know, right, as if they solved total economic corruption and neo-Nazism in under a decade and are just fine now, lol. Reddit doesn't remember that.
The response to the 2014 invasion was honestly very bizarre. Despite all the agreements Ukraine had. Even more bizarre is that we continued to deal with Russia like nothing happened. It gave them the idea that nothing will happen if they try again.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.